So we're going to learn to use the capitalistic system and combine it with yoga to help create and build wealth. I want to tell you guys though that capitalism or the economy is not a zero-sum game. Let me show you a couple of slides. The first one is of the Korean Peninsula, a nighttime satellite photo of the Korean Peninsula. You'll see South Korea has more lights than the heavens, like the stars. North Korea, we think there's one light on. So here we have a thriving capitalistic system against a communistic system that's not doing well at all. The next slide is really telling about the zero-sum game. It shows us that 200 years ago, 80% of the world, that's 80% of the world, lived in poverty. 20% lived well. Today it's flip-flopped. Actually, 20% of the world is now in poverty and 80% live well. So here we are at a yoga conference, and what have you guys noticed about the business practices of the yoga conference? Anything strike you? Well, what strikes me is that most people who are involved in yoga as a business are self-employed people or small business people. We have our entrepreneurs and our private equity people. Those are people who put on the conference and spend a lot of money and take risks to do so, and hopefully they get reward. We then have our superstars, entertainers, our yoga teachers, and they really draw us into the conference. Also, we have our traveling salespeople, the people who sell their vitamins, the clothes, the health wares, things of that nature. So again, we're just a microcosm of the capitalistic society that we live in. Here's another interesting quote from a famous yogi, Russell Simmons. And basically, you see it says, if I don't quit doing this expletive, I won't say it, I'm going to run out of money. I guess Russell was afraid when he first started doing yoga, he'd feel so good he wouldn't care about his business practices. Russell found it was just the opposite. He started using yogic principles to actually build a huge business empire. He did so through the practice of meditation and positive affirmations. So Russell's secrets are, number one, wake up in the morning and decide what you want to give as opposed to what you want to get. He says being a good giver will make you an even better getter. So yoga says give. Secondly, Russell says relentlessly pursue your goal. In other words, use the yoga willpower to achieve what you want to achieve. Then he says if you don't love it, don't do it. This is finding our dharma, finding something that we value within ourselves that's very important to the world, where first we're of service. Money then comes in a distant second. And my favorite, which Russell says, is money does not make you happy, but happy makes you money. Think about it, guys. Jesus had no money. Buddha had no money. In fact, Buddha gave away all his wealth. And they were very happy people. Have you guys ever heard the term householder? Well, in ancient India, the householders were basically successful people of the merchant class. And they were expected to support their families, society, and the holy men. Interesting though, in the 19th century, things began to change and evolve. By then, the English were firmly entrenched in India, and each culture was affecting one another. Has anyone ever read the book, An Autobiography of a Yogi? In the book, Yogananda speaks of an incredible 19th century yogi, Lahari Mahasaya. Lahari practiced mysterious Kriya Yoga. He had faint-like status and was said to bring people back from the dead. But there was something else that really made Lahari different. I mean, for me, bringing people back from the dead, that works for me. I'd stop right there. But Lahari was considered a modern, streamlined yogi or a householder yogi. He practiced in his own home. He had a family. He had a career as an accountant in the English military. He believed that more people should do yoga and do it in the privacy of their own homes. It was not just for the elite. He felt for yoga to be democratized, it had to be exported to the United States to, quote, combine the Orient and the Occident, the best of both. Shortly before Lahari's death, he encouraged Yogananda and other young yogis of the day to come to the United States to bring yoga here. And that was the first great wave in the 1920s of yogis who came to our shores. And it looks like today Lahari's prophecy has come true. People are doing yoga everywhere. There's 30 million of us or so do yoga in this country. And we are both the yogi and the householder. which means we must take care of our own financial goals, education for our kids, pay our own mortgages, fund our own retirements. And unfortunately, we're not doing a great job of it. Let me show you 2 sobering statistics. So let's compare in our hatha yoga practice and use it to be more successful investors and more successful savers. First off that, I want to say that diversity is good for the environment, it's good for the workplace, it's great for our portfolios, and we practice it in our yoga classes. We all do a diversified set of asanas. Think about it, guys. If all I asked you to do were handstands in practice, most of us are going to get hurt. We may find one person who can walk on his hands all day long, but again, most of us will get hurt. So that's why we diversify to give our muscles a rest. We want to do the same for our portfolios. We don't want to invest in one stock. We want to have, instead of having it in 3 places, we want to have it in multiple places. Look at the slide, we'll show you a non-diversified portfolio compared to the diversified portfolio, and the latter kind of looks like a rainbow. We want you to have a rainbow portfolio. Okay, now let's tackle the savings issue. Most of you have had 401k plans, right, at work. Let me ask you guys a question. When you got the 401k package, what's the first thing you did? In other words, there's 2 things you can do. You can pick your investments, or you can determine a goal-driven amount to save so you'll be successful in the end. How many pick their investments first? It's okay, don't be embarrassed. I've done the same thing in the past as well. Right, most of us pick our investments first. Well, that's putting the cart before the horse. And again, let's go to our hatha yoga practice and find out why. Okay, so if I were a yoga teacher and I came into your class and we did the difficult asanas first, in other words, start in shoulder stand, start in handstand, start in bridge, again, we're going to hurt ourselves because we're basically doing things ass backwards here. And that's what we do when we don't determine a proper amount to save before we pick our investments. So here's the exercise. It's in your folders, or you can go to my website and do the lifestyle challenge as well. Let's find out our end number, the number that will help us be financially independent. Okay, next I want to demonstrate the coolest part, I think, of my interview with clients. We also did this in the Yoga Money Seminar. People really like it. It's called the life planning process. We're going to ask 3 life planning questions. They were developed by a gentleman named George Kinder in my industry, who really melded Buddhism and money. Also, as you do this together with your spouse, you'll see that you'll learn something with your spouse that you never knew about as far as their money history, their money issues, what have you. You may need a neutral party to do so, but here we go. Are you ready? All right, Kim, we're about towards the end of the meeting. I have a lot of facts, but I want to ask you things more from your heart. So I'm going to ask you 3 life planning questions. Are you ready? Here's the first question. Let's say you didn't have to worry about money. Money's not the issue. Maybe you're not Warren Buffett, but you don't have to worry about it. What are you doing in the next 5 years of your life? What's your life looking like?
Well, it's hard not to have to worry about money, but being a mother of 4, I wouldn't have to worry about educating my 4 kids. Right now we're in the process of working on a college budget for our older daughter, who's a freshman. I suppose we would travel more with our family.
All right.
And I would want to support the causes that are important to us too, such as our local museums, the orchestra, and NPR and our schools.
Okay. Anything else, Kim?
I would see that our parents are properly taken care of in their golden years.
Correct. Anything else?
Not that I can
Okay,
think
you're
of.
clear on that. Okay, here's the second life planning question. It's a little bit more depressing, but we have to go with it. Let's say you go to the doctor and he gives you some bad news. He says you have 5 to 7 years left to live. You'll never feel any pain, but you'll drop dead somewhere between years 5 and 7. What's the next 5 to 7 years of your life looking like now that you have a limited time on this earth?
Well, certainly the answer is different for everyone. I'm speaking as a parent of 4, like I said, younger children. So I would want to make sure that my kids would be taken care of, that their needs would be met in the future. Primarily that they could stay in their community, stay in their schools that they're currently with, And I would make sure too that my husband's in a good position
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
And I should have said at the beginning, with the first question, I would, if money wasn't an issue, that we would, as a family, continue to try to grow our business.
Okay. Anything else, Kim?
No.
Okay. Third question is kind of a bummer, but I'm going to ask it. It's an important question, probably the most important question. You go to the doctor and he gives you the worst news possible. You have 1 day left to live. You have no future. You only have a past. Looking back at your past, any regrets, anything that you wanted to do, you didn't do, anything you felt you missed out on.
I would say no regrets, and I would just spend it with the people I love.
Right. Anything else, Kim?
No.
All right. Thanks. Again, the life planning process is a great thing for spouses and partners to do, usually with a neutral party. It gives them a better understanding. It makes their relationship stronger. I probably recommend you don't do it to one another, but you have a neutral third party do it. Namaste. This is Jeff. See you on the mat.